Welcome in to episode 6 of the Markley SportsCast. Not much going on in the sports world right now, so kind of scraping at the bottom of the barrel, but we got a lot of stuff to talk about in this episode. So today we'll be talking about AEW. They had an event last night. From what I read and gathered up on, it was kind of boring, very interesting, but we will talk a little bit about the AEW. Then we're going to talk about some more MLB because let's be honest, that's like the best thing in sports right now is baseball because nothing else is going on. And then, cool little segment for you guys. We hit on it in yesterday's episode, but new and improved and much anticipated NCAA football game coming out. So let's welcome in the co-host, the GOAT, the man, the myth, the legend, Tim. Welcome in, buddy. You ready for another exciting episode?
Oh, I'm always ready, Zach.
All right, cool deal. Well, guys, viewers, make sure if you guys want to be a guest speaker, any comments, concerns, grapes, whatever you want to do, make sure you hit up the Markley SportsCast at gmail.com. We'll take any of your questions. We have not received any yet, so we'd like to receive some. Keep us, engaged, and we don't have to scrape at the bottom of the barrel for some sports action. Also, please don't forget to give us a like, follow, subscribe, comment, message on our social media platforms, and they are Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. On our Facebook, it's just the Markley SportsCast, all one word. And on Twitter, it's the @ Markley Sports. And YouTube is Markley SportsCast. Make sure you guys give us a like and a follow on all of that.
You can also follow us on Spotify.
Yes, and Spotify. I always forget Spotify in there. Please feel free if you're able to. It's not mandatory. We're still going to do it. Rather we make a dime or we don't make a dime. But if you want to donate, please use our Cash App or Venmo. It's listed on all of that social media platforms that I just mentioned. So, as we start off every hot take, every show with a hot take. We got a very interesting hot take this week, and it's kind of a double question. So we're going to call it the double hot take. To Tim, talking baseball, that's the only thing going on in the world right now, in the sports world.
That we care about. Wimbledon is still going on.
Yeah, gosh, that's been forever, too. And we'll cover a little bit of Wimbledon, probably at the end of the finals.
Right, yeah. That should be coming up pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, I think today's the semis, so it should be coming up. But for our hot take, two-part question, Timmy. We'll start with one first, and we'll both answer it and go from there.
Okay.
There's been a lot of thoughts on this, and it's the designated hitter in baseball. I know if you're a Pirates fan, which I know you are, Bob Walk was very against it. He wants to ban the DH. He thinks the pitchers should hit. So the question that I'm asking Tim is, what are your thoughts on the designated hitter in baseball?
Well, I mean, I never really minded the pitchers hitting for themselves, but honestly, they're just not very good at it, except for a few outliers. The Braves always seem to have pretty good hitting pitchers, and of course, Ohtani, a two-way player, but for the most part, they're just horrible, and sometimes they would hurt themselves. I mean, as far as the pitchers go, it's good because also running the bases, it can kind of mess up their rhythm on the mound. For the pitchers, as far as injuries go, it's a good thing. And as far as the game of baseball itself, and in recent years, baseball has had some struggles with making new fans, and I think the DH is a great way to do that because your typical DH is a guy that's going to mash some home runs. So, you got a guy like that on every team, then that's going to create some excitement and hopefully bring in some younger fans.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to agree with you on that. I like the designated hitter. Pitch. It was kind of cool watching a pitcher hit in the simple fact that it was very strategic. Usually it was to bunt a bunch of runners over, and they became pretty good at bunting in the most part. But I'm with you. It protects on the injuries and base running. I mean, if you go to break up a double play as a pitcher, you're sliding, and it's hard to tell. You're probably not used to sliding, so it's hard to tell what could happen. But I think it's great for baseball not to have the pitcher worrying about that. He just needs to worry about throwing on the mound, in my opinion. Doesn't need to be worrying about hitting. So I'm very glad that they could use the DH now. I know it was a big issue back in the day. You got people saying, ban it, ban it. The only reason I could see banning it is, like I said, the strategic part from a pitcher being able to lay down a bunt to move his runners over. But usually, you're right, when a pitcher hit, it was kind of boring, or they weren't very good at it, so they would strike out a lot, especially if there was runners not on base or 2 outs.
Right.
So I do agree with it. All right, the second part of our hot take is another one that's been questioned in baseball, and that is the shift. So, Timmy, what's your thoughts on the shift?
I have no problem with the shift. I know a lot of people complain about it, but the fact of the matter is, if you're a hitter and you see that they've shifted, then hit it the other way. I mean, that's all you got to do. Because if you hit it, you got one guy on the other side of the infield, and so just hit it the other way. I mean, adjust or make it out.
Yeah, I agree once again with you. The shift, to me, should be a sign of respect. They're respecting you, that you hit the ball well, and we're going to shift against it. But as an offensive team, if you have a problem with the shift, then hit around it. I mean, literally, that whole side is wide open. Like, Matt Adams could hit a ball there and get a triple out of it. I mean, it's wide open. So I don't have a problem with it. It is a huge thing in baseball. People say it's not baseball. Get over it. Hit around it. Or if you're on the defensive side, make that stop. And as you're doing the shift, you should be weary of, hey, they could hit it to this side, and then they have a free-for-all on these bases, because it's going to take me a while to get to the baseball. I don't care if you're O'Neal Cruz, it's still going to take you a minute to get to the baseball. So you're at least going to get a double out of it.
And as hitters, if we don't like the shift, then really make a concerted effort to, every time you see the shift, hit it to the other side. Because if you do, then teams will stop doing it. They're only going to do it. The only reason they're doing it is because it works.
Right. Like MLB The Show. Hit that stick up and over. Hit it there. That's all you got to do. Simple.
Yep.
All right, Timmy. All you, buddy.
Okay, now we got some AEW to talk about. Last week they had a very good show with one of their sort of mini pay-per-views, if you will. Usually their episodes of Dynamite are very good. Last night was not so good. I mean, I don't know what is going on there. If they're just sort of fatigued after the sort of pay-per-view thing that they had. I mean, it's not really a pay-per-view, but, they do specials pretty often, really. And they make really good shows, usually. But like I said, last night was not up to their usual standards. There are injuries to some key wrestlers, and that may have something to do with it, too. But basically, there wasn't much going on. Wardlow met Scorpio Sky in a street fight. Scorpio came out with his usual buddies, Dan Lambert and Ethan Page, and of course they tried to interfere like they always do, and Wardlow managed to overcome their interference and a smash to the face with the TNT title, and he countered into a spine buster and then 2 power bombs. Put his foot on this guy's chest, the 1, 2, 3, and Wardlow is your new TNT champion. Wardlow is probably the most over face in the business right now, and I think it's great that they've given him a title. His future is probably as a heel, because usually a big guy like that, working him as a face doesn't really work out in the long run. Probably we will see a heel turn eventually, but for now, he's the hottest face in the business after he beat the crap out of MJF, who is the best heel in the business. And this whole situation with MJF, I'm not sure if it's real or if it's work. For those that don't know, there's supposedly some sort of contract issue between he and Tony Khan. MJF has not been seen since the Dynamite after he lost to Wardlow, and he cut a scathing promo on Tony Khan. But again, it could just be a work. He's under contract for another 2 years, I think. So I think the odds are that it's probably a work, and that at some point he will be back, which is good for the business, because he's the best heel in the business right now. And then moving on a little bit, we had Christian Cage and the recently turned heel Luchasaurus. They were out cutting a promo, and Matt Hardy came out, and there was a bit of a cringeworthy exchange where they were talking about Jeff Hardy and his recent addiction and legal troubles. This has been done before in WWE by Samoa Joe, and frankly, Joe, don't want to take anything away from Christian Cage. He's a great promo, but it was better when Joe did it for whatever reason. But anyway, apparently Matt Hardy is going to be the feud until Jungle Boy returns from his shoulder injury. So they need someone for Luchasaurus to fight. But again, I'm sure that the promo was approved, by Tony Khan and probably Jeff himself. But it was bad. Let's see. Then we have Daniel Garcia. He challenged Wheeler Yuta for the Ring of Honor Pure Championship at the upcoming Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view. Wheeler Yuta is a member of the Blackpool Combat Club, which I'm a huge fan of. They're managed by William Regal, and it comprises Jon Moxley, the injured Daniel Bryan, and Wheeler Yuta. And but I haven't really watched any of the Ring of Honor stuff, but Tony Khan does own Ring of Honor now, so we're seeing a little bit of crossover with that. And well, let's see, what else did we have? We had the AEW Interim World Championship match between Jon Moxley and Brody King. Now, I just want to say I loathe the idea of this interim championship. CM Punk is actually the world champion right now, but he's injured. So for some reason, they come up with this interim world champion, which they did once before with the TNT title when Cody Rhodes was injured. I do not like this. If the guy can't wrestle, strip him of the title, have a tournament, and then when he comes back, give him a title shot. I really don't like this, because what happens, you have somebody defending the interim title, which I guess they do in maybe boxing and UFC, I don't know, but I just hate the idea. But anyway, Moxley is the interim champion right now, and if he is still the champ, when CM Punk comes back, there'll be a unification match between CM Punk and whoever is holding the title when he does come back. This match, it was a hard-hitting affair. Brody King, he's a monster, and he pretty much dominated the entire match. Apparently there were some time constraints because some of the other segments had gone over, so they had to rush to the finish in the match, and the finish looked like garbage. Moxley, he hit a paradigm shift, which is his finishing move, then some elbows, and then he locked a submission move onto Brody King, and Brody King broke it, and immediately Moxley put it back on him, and then Brody passed out from the pain or whatever, so the referee called the match. It was rushed, and it didn't give the two guys, I mean, they're both excellent wrestlers, and it just didn't give them the time to tell the story that they needed to be telling. And then after that, we had FTR, that is Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood, probably one of the best tag teams in the world today. If you were a fan of wrestling back in the 90s, then you should be familiar with Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard of the Four Horsemen, and they are, I mean, they could be clones of Arn and Tully. They're just fantastic. They are faces right now, but I think they work better as heels. But they're faces right now, and they challenged the Briscoe brothers at the Death Before Dishonor Ring of Honor pay-per-view, and that'll be a good match. The Briscoe brothers, I haven't seen a lot of them, but they are apparently extremely talented. Also, one of the best tag teams in the world. So this should be a good match. That pay-per-view is shaping up to be very good. We also have Samoa Joe defending the television title. So that pay-per-view will be very good. And that's all we got for the first segment. Do you have anything to add or any questions, Zach?
Yeah, when is the pay-per-view?
The Blood and Guts pay-per-view, I think, is the 13th, but I can't swear to it.
Okay, I might have to.
I think it's the 13th.
Are you watching that?
I may watch it, yeah. Like I said, I've not been real familiar with Ring of Honor. I don't know if you've ever followed them, but they always ran their shows a bit differently than everyone else does. So, like, they had sort of a pay-per-view like for their regular shows. I mean, it wasn't really a pay-per-view, but they ran a lighter schedule. But I'm interested to see where Tony Khan takes them.
Okay. Yeah, very good segment, very good information. Definitely let our viewers know, because I did not watch AEW last night. I didn't keep up with it. It's a very good segment on that, but maybe I could come over and watch that pay-per-view with you on the 13th when it happens, and we'll have some more to talk about in AEW. So what's our second segment, Tim?
The next segment, we're going to talk some MLB. I don't know if you saw this. This was actually from a month ago, but I just saw this yesterday. Our boy Jay Hay, Josh Harrison, he was pitching, and he actually struck out Xander Bogaerts. So then he pitched again on Tuesday. With not such good results, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about position players pitching. MLB, in one of their efforts to speed up the pace of the game, has put a cap on the number of pitchers that the clubs can carry. And in effect, what that does, it keeps them from changing pitchers so much because they don't have the extra guys in the bullpen. But the unintended side effect of this is this year we've had a bunch of position players on the mound.
Pujols pitched.
Right. Yes, he did. And so did Yachty.
Yep.
Yachty pitched too. But we watch one of these position players pitch in, and we always laugh because it seems like they always strike out someone with an eephus pitch, which if you don't know what that is, it's basically a pitch from somebody who just doesn't know what they're doing, and they're throwing a pitch that's 50 or 60 miles an hour, and simply because the hitters are used to much more velocity, they can't hit it, and they just look silly swinging at it. But I mean, it seems like there's always some sort of highlight reel of them striking someone out with an eephus. I am actually I do not like having to put position players on the mound. I think it's ridiculous. I mean, these are guys that aren't used to pitching. They're going to hurt themselves or someone else. I think that MLB just needs to lift the cap on pitchers. You cap however many players you want them to have. If you want the teams to have 26 men or whatever, and then just let them have however many pitchers and position players they want, and then they got to work within that. But yeah, I do not like seeing position players on the mound. So, what do you think about position players pitching?
I love it. On one aspect, and I agree with you, but I do have to counter something. You talked about you don't like them hitting or don't like them pitching, but then we just had this kind of same argument in all of baseball the last couple of years about a pitcher hitting. So it's kind of the same thing. I like it on one aspect. I think it makes the game more fun, but I think that the game doesn't need to be close. Like yesterday, Pirates and Yankees, 16-0.
Right.
If the Yankees would have brought in Aaron Judge to pitch or Anthony Rizzo, I don't have a problem with that, personally, because I think it's fun for the game. It's cool to watch, but you hit something on the head perfectly. You see these strikeouts from position players like Jay Hay striking out Bogarts, which is a very good hitter. You see him striking them out because they're used to that velocity. I mean, you come from Dylan Cease, who pitches 100 miles per hour, and then you put Jay Hay in there that pitches 56 miles per hour. It's a big difference, and it looks like a beach ball to those hitters. Of course,
right? I mean, basically, it's a meatball.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
But it's just so slow they can't do anything with it.
Yeah, hitters look at it, their eyes get real big. Oh my gosh, this is a beach ball. Then they swing and they miss, and they look ridiculous.
Right.
So I do think that's funny, and I do think it's good for the game. And baseball has really hurt its fandom over the course of the years, and it's trying to get back some fans and get back new fans, which I agree with. And I think it's kind of cool because people that don't know anything about baseball are going to look at that and be like, wait a second, a utility player that plays shortstop, second base just struck out Alexander Bogarts? What? So
right.
I enjoy it. I really do. I watched Pujols pitch. He gave up like 3 home runs.
Right.
And it was hilarious because they were literally meatballs. Like, me and you probably could have hit them.
Right. But speaking of eephus pitches, I don't know if you remember Luan Hernandez, but this was a guy, he was a pretty good pitcher in his career, but towards the end of his career, he would throw a pitch that was 93, a fastball that's 93, 94, and then he would follow that up with a fastball that was like 60 miles an hour, and the hitters would just be falling all over themselves. I mean, I don't know how he did it, because most pitchers, they're going to stay at a pretty good range there on their velocities. I don't know how he did it, but I always found it interesting because, I mean, he didn't do it all the time, but it seemed like at least a couple batters a game that he would do that, and they would just fall all over themselves trying to hit that pitch. Got anything else?
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay.
On that.
Right. Okay. Well, our next segment is going to be the All-Star Game. In the last collective bargaining agreement, this just came out in the last couple of days. There's a clause in there that says that the commissioner of baseball can add one player from each league. Let's call it a legends clause because it's based upon their career as a whole rather than how they're performing this season. There is a clause in there that says under special circumstances he can appoint more than one player from each league. But just as a fun little exercise, I just decided that we would just decide who we would pick. One player from each league that we would pick. Who did you pick, Zach, and why?
Yeah, for me, first off, the All-Star Game's at Dodger Stadium, right?
Yes.
And I know they're just started phase 2 of the voting. A lot of great superstars on there. And just so you guys, the viewers, know, it's kind of like a fan vote, which is kind of cool. They give you that fan vote. They let the fans feel a part of it, kind of like voting in an election, kind of like your right to vote for baseball. And I think that's cool. So I wanted to touch on that. But for me, if it's me, if I'm Manfred, he actually decided to bring in 2. from each league. My first one, we just talked about him a little bit, would be Albert Pujols from the St. Louis Cardinals. He played for the Dodgers last year, went back to St. Louis, where he's played for years. He's going to retire this year. He's had a great, stellar career. Right now, he's more of a DH just because he's older and he can't really play first base like he used to. So I would definitely pick him. And like I said, it's going to be a retirement for him. He's happy to be back in St. Louis. I would definitely pick him. As for the American League, it's a little bit crazy in the American League. I went through and through with this. First off, if Verlander's not on a ticket, which he should be, because
he's
going to win the Cy Young.
Yeah, I think that he will win the Cy Young this year.
But then the other thing, I think this guy is going to be the Tigers representative. You guys might know who I'm talking about already. And that's Miguel Cabrera. Miggy, great for baseball. He's one of my favorite baseball players. And he doesn't even play for a team that I like or necessarily root for. But he's definitely one of my favorite baseball players. He just surpassed his 3,000th hit here in April, and that's pretty big news in baseball. So props to him, and I would definitely pick him if he's not the Tigers representative, which he's going to be. It's not a joke, but if I had to go with one and he wasn't the Tigers representative, then it would definitely be Miggy. And, of course, if Verlander's not on the All-Star ballot without the commissioner pick, which he should be, then I would have to go with Verlander. But I do like it because both of these guys are stellar athletes, stellar baseball players, and both their careers are coming to an end. I don't know if Miggy retires this year. I would say he probably does, but I'm not sure. And it would be a good thing for both of them to end on an All-Star season. Who'd you pick?
Well, I picked Pujols as well in the National League for the same reasons that you did. I mean, this is a guy who, his decline has been pretty steep. I mean, there's no denying that. But for 10 years, almost, he was absolutely the best player in the game. He's standing at, let me see here, 683 home runs, 2,167 RBIs, and a 296 career batting average. Those are Hall of Fame numbers. He's definitely going in the Hall of Fame. His play this year has not been stellar enough to get him onto the ballot, but yes, I absolutely think that he deserves it. I mean, it's definitely going to be his last year, and so absolutely I go with Pujols. Now, the American League, as you said, is a lot harder to pick someone. Miggy, of course, would be my first pick, but like you said, he's going to almost certainly be the Tigers representative. Also, I think that he will actually play another season because I think next year is actually the last year of his contract, and he's doing so well this year. I figure he will be back for one more season. Verlander as well. If he were not going to be voted in, I would choose him. But I believe he is going to make it as well. So my pick, I know this is a bit out of the box, is Rich Hill.
Interesting pick. I'm excited to see why you picked Rich Hill. But
well, this is a guy that's been around forever. He's been a journeyman. He's pitched pretty much everywhere in the majors. He's never really, he had a few good years. Never really been a superstar, but he does have a 78-56 win-loss record in his career. Now, had he been a starter his entire career, he would have easily hit 100 wins, which is, you say, well, that's not Hall of Fame numbers, but there aren't a lot of pitchers that reach 100 wins. If he had been a starter, he's been in the bullpen for the last, I don't know how many, 5-6 years maybe. He's been very good out of the bullpen. He has a career 3.82 ERA. He's just a guy that's been there. He's done it all. He's been a winner. He's had tough times. He's had good times. I think he started out with the A's, and He was very good there. He's pitched for Chicago, the Cubs. He's pitched for the Dodgers. He's with Boston now. But he's done it all. He's like I said, the American League was just harder. But Rich Hill, my pick.
I like that pick, and just how you explained it. You know, and the CBA allows the commissioner. It's like a legends pick. And he's definitely a legend of the game. I mean, he's pitched everywhere. He's had good times, bad times, just like almost every legend in the game of baseball, especially pitching. So I do like that pick. I do like that you kind of went out of the box other than the obvious ones, which would be Verlander and Miggy. Like I did, I picked the obvious ones. But, yeah, that's a great thinking on your part. I would agree with Rich Hill. He would definitely be a third option for me.
Good to know you agree.
We need to quit agreeing so much.
I know, right? We got to argue about some stuff. All right, now on to our next segment. Matt Olson is chasing a 60 double season right now. I don't know if you know, but a 60 double season is actually more rare than a 60 home run season.
Absolutely. Barry Bonds got 60 home runs once.
Right. It has actually only happened 5 times before. Earl Webb from the 1931 Red Sox had 67 doubles. Joe Medrenick with the 1936 Cardinals had 64. Then Paul Big Poison Wainer, who you should be familiar with, for the Pirates in 1932 had 62, and Charlie Gehringer, also in 1936, had 62, and it has not happened since then. Olson has a good chance to have 39 before the All-Star break. I ultimately do not think he will reach it. I don't know if you've been paying attention to him, but his home run numbers have actually been a bit down this first half. I think that in the second half, his home run numbers are going to go up, which will lead the doubles to go down. So I predict he finishes with 55.
Okay, good prediction, I guess. I disagree. So there's your disagreement. For the viewers that don't know, Olson got picked up by Braves this year in place of Freddie Freeman. We all know the Freddie Freeman situation and his agents could have been avoided, but it wasn't. So Olson was picked up, and he's been outstanding really so far for the Braves this year. His home run numbers are down, but as far as hitting, he's been exactly what Atlanta needs. He is 6'5", 225 pounds, and has 32 doubles already on the season. That's pretty impressive. He's kind of a bigger dude, and he's getting doubles, which doesn't really happen in the MLB when you're that big. It's kind of like Big Papi getting 32 doubles. Maybe not that bad, but
Aaron Judge.
Okay, Aaron Judge. But 32 doubles, impressive. And like I said, we're not even at the All-Star break, which is the halfway point of the season. We're not even there yet. And so he could have more. I do like your prediction of 39 for the All-Star break. That gives him 7 more. I agree with that. But here's where we disagree. In 2021, last year, he had 35 doubles all of season. He's at 32 right now. And we're not halfway. Once again, we're not even halfway. I think as long as he stays healthy, I see him surpassing 60 and may even get the MLB record, which is set by a guy you just mentioned, Earl Webb, in 1931.
Right.
So, I do think if he stays healthy, he gets there. But right now, he leads the majors in doubles, and it's a pretty wide margin.
The next guy has 28 or something.
Yeah, I think it's 28 or 26.
Yeah, something like that.
So I definitely think he will surpass 60, and he has a shot of comedian Earl Webb. He's playing really well right now, and I see a lot from Olsen. He's kind of on the back burner because imagine how that man feels. Well, I'm kind of the backup to Freddie Freeman, and then this stuff comes out. He's probably like, oh man.
All right, Zach. So we're gonna write this down. My prediction is Olsen hits 55 doubles,
I'm going 70.
and you pick 70 doubles. All right, we'll see. We'll see about this.
Yeah, we will, and I'll let you know about it if I win that.
Oh, I know you will.
Just letting you know.
I'm just gonna say that I am not particularly worried about that.
All right, what's our next nice little thing? We got some picks coming, right?
Yeah, next is going to be our picks. The first game that we're going to make a pick from. Clearly, we're not doing all the games. I picked the interesting games, and then I kind of had some holes after that, so I had to pick some uninteresting games. I predict we both go 4-0. Yankees at Boston. We have Garrett Cole on the mound for the Yankees. He is 7-2 with a 2.99 ERA, 117 strikeouts, and he'll be facing John Winkowski of the Red Sox, who is 3-2 with a 3.12 ERA and a 19 strikeouts, just 19. So who you got in this matchup, Zach?
Well, as the viewers know, and you know, Tim, I'm a Yankees fan, and I can't stand the Red Sox. I call them the Red Sox. That's what I call them. They're playing great baseball, though. Both teams are really playing great baseball. The Yankees just came off of a 16-0 win over the Buccos, returned the favor because they lost Game 1 of the short 2-game series. Garrett Cole's on the mound. It's hard to go against him. Plus, we overpaid that man way too much money, so he needs to earn his keep. But you said it, 7-2. He has a low ERA. He's facing Winkowski, which, to be honest with you, I've never even heard of.
Yeah, I haven't either.
But I am going to take the Bronx Bombers. I think the Bronx Bombers are hitting the ball really well, and I look for at least 3 or 4 balls to go over that big, ugly green monster out there in Boston.
I'm going to have to agree with you, Garrett Cole. I'll be honest, I do not like him as a person. He's a terrible teammate, but he's a great pitcher. So I'm not going to be able to vote against him. So I'm going with the Yankees as well. Now,
Smart move.
I'm sorry?
Smart move.
Yeah, right. In our second game, we have Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. The Pirates have the young. He's 22, 23. Rowanzi Contreras, he's 2-2 with a 4.09 ERA and 43 strikeouts. This is a kid who, he's not there yet. Like I said, he's still young, 22, 23. But I believe this kid is going to be a massive superstar. You will see him and O'Neal Cruz leading the Pirates, maybe not all the way to the World Series, but definitely to the playoffs in the future. And Cincinnati is countering with Mike Minor, who's been a very effective pitcher in his career, but for some reason this year is 1-5 with a 6.82 ERA and 24 strikeouts. I am going to go with the Pirates in this game. I think they are going to absolutely destroy Mike Minor.
Yeah, and it's a doubleheader. We're only picking the first game. I didn't know if you knew that, Tim, but
no, I was not aware it was a doubleheader.
It is a doubleheader. This game kicks off here shortly. I am going back and forth on this game, and here's why. I'm a firm believer in saying the Pirates could beat the Yankees, the Dodgers. Hell, they swept the Dodgers in LA, but got swept by the Reds last time they played them. So the Reds are by far probably the worst team in baseball between the Reds and the A's. I am going to go with the young stud on the mound I agree with you, Timmy. I think once he gets fully developed, him and Cruz are going to lead this team to a deep playoff run. And then Minor, he's struggling. 6.82 ERA. That's really high for the season. So ultimately, I'm going to go with the Buccos to win this game as well.
Good deal. All right, and our next game will be Kansas City at Houston. We have Chris Bubish on the mound, who is 1-5 with a 7.06 ERA and 37 strikeouts. This is another young guy who I think is going to be a big star too, but he's clearly struggling this season. But he will eventually work that out, I think. And the Astros are going to be countering with who I believe will be the AL Cy Young Award winner, Justin Verlander. He is 10-3 with a 2.03 ERA and 90 strikeouts. I mean, the Royals have been sort of streaky. I don't think they really have a shot at beating Verlander, though, so I have to go with the Astros.
Yeah, I agree. Once again, Bubick has a high ERA, and that's not good when you're playing the Astros, just saying. They have a pretty good offensive team, and they have a even better pitching and defense team. But I think it's going to be really tough for KC to upset Verlander and give him his fourth loss. I definitely don't think that's going to happen. I look for a gem from Verlander. Might even go a complete game. And that's amazing for Verlander, man. He's older, obviously, and he's still 10-3 with just over 2 runs earned a game. So
I mean, this is another veteran pitcher who has had some down seasons as well, but he seems to have recovered from those. It's probably been 5 or 6 years since he had a poor season.
Yep. So I'm going with the Astros. I can't go against Verlander in this game.
Okay. And our last game will be the Cubs and Dodgers. The Cubs are going with Mark Leiter Jr., who, of course, is the son of former Major Leaguer Mark Leiter. He is 2-2 with a 4.85 ERA and 31 strikeouts. Now, this is another young guy who I think is going to be pretty good. I don't know if he's going to reach the elite status that I believe Bubish and Contreras will reach, but I think that he will be a good major league pitcher in the future. And the Dodgers will be countering with Tony Gonsolin, who himself is making a run at this Cy Young in the National League, I believe. He is 10-0 with a 1.84 ERA and 77 strikeouts. He's not really a strikeout pitcher, so his strikeout numbers are a little low there, but he's just doing fantastic, and I'm going to have to go with the Dodgers in this game. The Cubs are one of the worst teams in baseball, and they're facing one of the best teams in baseball and one of the best pitchers in baseball right now. So I have to go with the Dodgers.
Wow, Timmy, this might be the first time ever that we both pick the same teams. Yeah, I'm going with LA too. LA is tough to beat, especially in LA, unless your name's the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Right.
Gonsolin has had a hell of a season so far, undefeated. That's remarkable. In 10 games undefeated, low ERA, and you're going to win games when you just allow 1.5 runs a game.
Right.
You're going to win,
especially when you have an offense like the Dodgers do.
Right, and you said it best. He's not really a strikeout pitcher, and you don't need that. I mean, it's good to have one of your starting 5, at least one, as a strikeout pitcher, but you just need a contact pitcher. You have a defense behind you that could field the ball and get the outs that you need, and it seems like that's what he's been doing this whole year. So I definitely look for the Dodgers to win, and I think it's going to be a boring game, and it's going to suck for the Cubs.
Right.
I think we might see another 16-0 game here, because the Cubs they're not the same Cubs as Joe Madden and when they had Jake Arrieta and when they beat the Pirates in that wild card game.
As an aside here, in the offseason, the Cubs signed Seiya Suzuki. Now, on the face of it, you say, okay, that's a good move. But it seems counter to what they're trying to do. I mean, they're clearly in a rebuild. So why are they going out and spending the money on this guy who's supposed to be a superstar? That just seems...
Beats me, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a rebuild, why are you going and getting a guy like this? I mean, this is a guy that had all the elite teams were looking at him, the Dodgers, the Yankees. I mean, they were all looking at him, and somehow he ends up with the Cubs, who are in a rebuild. Yeah, I don't know.
Hard to tell.
Okay, our final segment, a little different. This is another one of those video games, or another one of those hot dog eating things. Is it a sport? Is it not? I don't know. You can get paid for it, so maybe it is a sport. I don't know.
Have you ever seen streamers, buddy? Like Tim the Tap Man and Nick Merckx and those guys, man? They make millions playing video games.
I've seen that the meat guy. He's not very good.
Hey, buddy, I was slaying last night on Call of Duty, I just want to say. So, yeah, for the viewers, I also am a streamer. The Meat 23202 Gaming. If you guys want to come give that a nice little follow. But I was slaying yesterday. Don't listen to Tim. A little bit better than what Tim's saying.
But anyway, we have the new NCAA game coming out this year. It's been, how many years since we had an NCAA game? 10 years maybe?
2014.
Okay. Seems like, well, that's 8 years. I'm excited for this. I really enjoyed the NCAA games back in the day. One thing I liked about it was that you could create your freshman player, have him go through his college career, and
Road
then
to
move him
glory,
on,
baby.
and then move him on to Madden.
That's right, Road to Glory.
Right. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about sports video games, and maybe a little bit about the good and bad franchises in sports video games. So, what do you think about sports video games, Zach?
Well, buddy, I'll tell you this right now. Growing up as a kid, you would see me playing, and I'm 29 years old, and you still see me playing sports games all the time. I love them. Ever since a kid, I'd stay up late. I love summer when you're not in school and your parents let you stay up late. We'd be grinding out for some NCAA 14, 12, whatever that year was. Then you got the show, played a lot of that. Pretty funny story. My goal in the show was to play all 162 games. It never happened, but it was still an interesting thing. Sports games have always been dear to my heart. I will play them until the day I die.
In the show, I have a goal of one day actually finishing a franchise. It's like 130 years or something like that. I've never made it. I probably never will. Back in the day, I played MVP baseball. I don't know if you were old enough to
MVP baseball was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sure was. Which brings me to what I believe. I will say I've never played any of the UFC games, so I'm not sure what they're like. I played a few boxing games, a few basketball. Of course, I played Madden, which, I mean, for me, MLB The Show is the best, but Madden is certainly the king of sports games. I've played Madden, of course, NCAA. I've played some NHL. Never played any soccer or football if you're listening in another country. But I think that the absolutely worst. I played a lot of wrestling games too, and which actually it brings me to 2K. I don't know why, but their baseball games were always horrible, but yet they seem to be good at making wrestling games and basketball games and golf games. But their baseball games always seem to be horrible. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, man. I'll tell you first to answer on your UFC. They are fun. A lot of fun. And it's realistic. There's blood. There's bruising. There's all kinds of that stuff. But it's hard. It is a hard game to play, especially if you're one of those guys that play online. It's a very hard game to play. The submissions are hard. but it's a fun game to play as well. As for the other ones, I think 2K is the worst gaming franchise as far as sports gaming on some aspects. Terrible baseball games. Absolutely terrible. Wrestling was okay. I also think wrestling games could be hard as well.
I
So,
love wrestling games too.
yeah.
Oh,
And
speaking of wrestling games, AEW has one coming out probably early next year.
oh, that'd
Kenny
be cool.
Omega. Kenny Omega. I mean, he's not actually a video game designer or anything like that, but he's working very closely with the company to make sure that this game is going to be something that wrestling fans and video game fans will enjoy. So I'm pretty excited about that game.
Yeah, that'll be cool. As far as gaming though, MLB, the show, is the best ever. I love that game. It's probably my favorite sports game, to be honest with you. That's the reason I got a PlayStation years ago, was simply for the MLB the show. I'm kind of a little bit butthurt or salty, as if you will, that they went to Microsoft. So now you can play it on Xbox, and I know, Timmy, you have an Xbox. But that's the reason I got the PlayStation in the first place, was to play the show. And I've always kept a PlayStation just because of the show. So I was a little salty when that happened. I'm over it now. But MLB The Show was one of the greatest sports franchise games I've ever played, besides NCAA Football.
Well, and if you're a fan of MLB, it doesn't even matter which platform you play it on because they have cross-play between Xbox, PlayStation, even Nintendo now. Apparently the graphics are not as good on the Nintendo. I don't know. But, yeah. Hopefully they'll get some on the PC so you can join me.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I will say this. I can't stand Madden.
Really?
I
thought
don't...
we used to play Madden, and I thought you liked it.
I will play it. Like I said, I'll play any sports game. I'll play 2K. I don't care. And I'll enjoy it to an extent. But Madden just makes me so mad of how... So we do a lot of online franchises. My brother is a very ultra competitive dude. And
Yes.
I beat him like 9 times one year in Madden. And then the new Madden comes out, and I'm losing like 62-3 and like this ridiculous amount of numbers by Noah. He's literally kicking my butt every time that we've played since I beat him like 9 straight times. So it's very frustrating. And I actually had a buddy that was in the franchise with us that played Noah, and Noah plays in a unique style. He really aggravates you on the online front. And he tackled Roy, and Roy threw the game out the window and broke it.
So basically, you're frustrated with Noah, not Madden.
No, but Madden's game mechanic is shit. Okay, like Noah shouldn't be able to hit the hit stick, and I fumble every time he hits the hit stick. Like, I think that's ridiculous.
Well, if Noah can do that, then baby, you should be hit. It's like the shift, Zach. Guard
No.
against it or use it against him.
Timmy, the mechanic is rough in the Madden games.
Well, why didn't you do that to him?
I do, and he doesn't fumble. He's probably hacking, to be honest with you.
So he's probably just better than Noah. If you're listening, give us a call or something. We need to have you on here so you can tell us about what your strategy is to always defeat Zach. At
Now,
Madden.
wait a second. I've defeated him at least 8 or 9 times.
We want to talk about Noah though.
Oh, yeah. Of course you want to see the people that defeat me. Come over to, golf. Speaking of golf, that game that they just came out, really hard. But it's way more realistic than, like, the Roy McIlroy games.
Yeah, I didn't like I always enjoyed the Tiger Woods games. Before that, before pre-Tiger Woods, they just had like a PGA Tour game, which I enjoyed as well. And then Tiger Woods, which I loved. And then I like Rory McIlroy, but I did not like those games.
Yeah, they're like the golf club games and like the ESPN 2Ks golf games. They're pretty fun. Like it's real life. For a lot of viewers, I played a lot of golf in my lifetime, and there's no, like on Tiger Woods, and I love Tiger Woods games. but you could smash the A button and spin it and hit the ball 400 yards. You don't get that in the new PGA Tour game. You actually have to take in consideration your lives. You don't get to spin it that much. There's nothing like that, and it's very complicated. And I enjoy it because it's like real golf. It frustrates the hell out of you each time you play it, but it's like real golf. So it's really cool.
But I don't know if you remember on the golf club when I was in your league, I was.
You're pretty bad.
I deleted the game. That's how bad I was at it.
I understand, man. But to wrap up, I'm so excited for NCAA Football 23. It should be released. They came out with kind of like movies. They could change it 100 times, but they came out with a pre-release date, I guess, is what you could call it, is July of 2023, which is literally a year away.
Right.
And this will be the first game since 2014's game. Very excited. It's a big release for all. I mean, it'll probably be the number one selling game just because we haven't had it for years.
Right.
And I know they are going to. I saw an article where they're going to try. They're paying like $10,000s of dollars to these teams to try to get their stadium noise into the game itself, which I think
awesome.
is pretty interesting.
That's one thing. I've not played any sports game where the crowd was anywhere near realistic.
Right.
Just take the show for example. When in the MLB 2022, the new one, they have this thing called the fan cam where like they do a live broadcast where they show the fans, and it seems like they're trying to get random movement, but like if you just kind of don't focus on it, you can see like different people just like doing the exact same movement, standing up, sitting down, what have you. And I don't really like that. I think they should work a little bit harder on that, because a part of the experience is that it's supposed to feel real, and when the crowd is a bit like cardboard cutouts or something, it kind of takes you out of that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think they're going to make this game the best one ever. And I'll tell you right now, in any sports game I play, I'm a huge Dynasty fan. Franchise, I will play that 20 times before anything else.
Right.
And their Dynasty on NCAA 14 was amazing. So I could only imagine how it's going to be in 2023. I just wish we had a time machine and I could go to 2023 right now, because I would be playing NCAA 23 right now as I'm doing this podcast.
There's an episode of South Park where Cartman wants to go to the future to get I think it's a Switch, maybe.
Are you trying to say that I look like Cartman?
Well, yeah. He actually got frozen, and he accidentally was frozen because Butters was supposed to wake him up, and he forgot. So he was frozen for like 1,000 years or something, and then when he woke up, it was a Wii. That's what it was. He wanted the Wii, and he was talking to them, and none of them knew what a Wii was. He was very upset. Eventually, they did find him one in a museum, though.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, it was another great episode. That was a great last segment with the video games, and we'll be talking more about that stuff. We'll probably be talking some fantasy too. Me and Tim's in a fantasy baseball league. I'm 11-1. Tim did not beat me. I beat Tim twice so far.
I just want to point out that the last few years, Zach has won the regular season, but then what happened in the playoffs, Zach?
We'll discuss that later.
Yeah. Okay.
But thank you, viewers. It's been real fun. We finally got the technical difficulties out of the way, hopefully. Once again, and I'll say it 100 times, shout out to Tim's wife, Natty, for letting us use this platform to make our podcast go. It makes it less of a headache on Timmy and I. So thank you and much love to you. And as always, we mentioned it at the beginning, but I'll mention it again at the end. If you guys want to write into the show, it's the Markley SportsCast at gmail.com. And then, of course, give your likes, subscribes, follows on Facebook, Spotify, YouTube, Twitter. See, I did it that time. I added Spotify.
Right. Yeah, there you go.
And just show us some love. Listen to listen to the recording and then email us in. Noah, if you're listening, come on, buddy.
Yeah. Hit us up, Noah.
Tim wants to see us freaking roast me live on our podcast.
That's right.
All right, Timmy. Thank you, buddy,
Right.
for another
You're
great
welcome.
episode.
Thank you, Zach.
And you have a good one, buddy.
All right. Talk to you later.